I brought it up to her attention after I spoke to Nick. I was like, oh, you know, he really wants to hang out, but he wants to take me to his owner's company's house, and he's going to be there, and he wants me to be there with him. So she's like, I mean, I can watch Josiah, but I don't understand why you have to come home at 8 o'clock the next morning. And I'm like, bitch, because maybe I want to get laid and have fun, and on top of that, Nick said that he wanted to maybe go out and hang out somewhere. So how can I so I was like, no, it's cool, don't worry about it, because I told Nick that he could take me and Jay to the house, and just don't worry about it.
How do we help this client find the middle? You're hearing her. It's all or it's none. This is clear as day. I'm either going out and it's got to be till 8 a.m. the next morning, or I'm not going. This is basically what's happening. This is what we all do. I'm either getting all or getting none. How do we help her?
Guys, give me my orgasm. I haven't had one.
How do we help her get more centered, and instead of going at it, find this middle ground? What as a therapist could we suggest? Could we point out?
Compromise.
Okay, so compromise. So what would you tell her?
In this sense.
Tell her.
Her mother says, what, 2:30 in the morning?
What?
Her mother said 2:30 just to make sure.
Your mom said 2:30 in the morning?
2:30 in the morning?
Well, that's what, yeah, she says, but then I have her hitting me up at 12 midnight.
Oh,
Hey, are you home yet? Are you coming home? Are you on the way?
Okay, so the first thing is,
Yeah.
remember, if we want to make things clear,
So compromise. If she's calling around 12, right? If you're going to be running an hour late at that moment, she calls, say, you know, I'm running 1 hour behind schedule. Is that cool? Versus just coming at
I
10
would
a.m.
say even before that,
Even
what can
before.
you do? What can you have the client do with the mom? There's such poor communication.
Absolutely.
She accuses and she doesn't listen. Their mom's a bitch, but she
Yeah.
needs her mom and she's pissed out about it. How do you start the evening before she even steps out of the house with them having some clarity? What rules can be put in place? What can the client do? I'm not saying that the mom's going to go along with it,
Yeah.
but it's one recommendation.
Not even a recommendation. What if it's a suggestion? Because I see all the time, well, in this case, she has a 2, 3, 4-year-old.
3-year-old.
3-year-old. You know, why don't she do the bigger step? Whereas, because let's say she goes out, right? And he hasn't bathed yet, and the grandmother has to, you know, put him to bed. Why don't you already do that? Already feed him, bathe him. So at this point, it's either by the time you go out, he falls asleep. That way she knows she's not physically watching the kids.
Okay, so that's one. Is that a possibility, or are you going out like too early?
Oh no,
in the night?
that's a definite.
Definite.
I
Perfect.
always
So why don't you push going out like
Check.
around his bedtime? Like,
Right, so
whereas-
that's gonna happen.
That's
Yeah,
gonna happen.
check mark.
Great.
It's fine.
The other thing is the clarity around the time.
Yeah.
Mom, you're saying that I can get home at 2:30.
Mm-hmm.
If she's willing to agree, which I don't know your mom,
How you done?
but a good thing is a contract.
Yeah.
I agree to be home at 2:30 and you, whatever. That's something that you sometimes have. Marriage contracts are very, very, very common.
Or a calendar.
Especially-
Just days in advance.
Something in writing
Yeah.
is very common because this starts making things very, very clear. Remember, we're undoing in relationships, and you and your mother are in a relationship, you're parenting this child together, what we learn here, and so the relationship is to undo that shadow. And so being very, very clear. Libras, notorious, aren't clear, they're people pleasers. You have shadow on that. So, Mom, my teacher, since she loves to bring the class into it, recommends a contract. I'm going out till 2:30, not a minute later. You have your side, she has her side. You're going to do your part, she's going to do her part, and it's written. If the mom allows that to side, great. If not, when she calls you at 12 o'clock, what is she saying?
What do you mean? Like, what is she?
Like,
So
what's
what
she
is she
asking
doing?
you for? What does she
Oh.
want?
She's asking, are you on your way?
Okay, and what do you say to her?
I'm like, yeah, I guess I'll be on my way. I mean, I
But-
give in because I'm like, fuck, this stupid bitch said 2:30 first. and
Okay,
I
so
told
first
her-
of all, she's taking
I
care of the
give
kid.
in.
I know you give in because you have Libra on the
Yeah.
Descendant. I know that. I need you to get your Aries out from your Ascendant that says, whoa, whoa, whoa. We have a strategy.
Yeah.
At war, we have a strategy. So, first of all, asking the question, is he awake? Why does she need you home at 12 if he's asleep? Have you ever asked her? Is
Yeah.
Jay awake?
Because she doesn't want to go to sleep late and have the door open in case Josiah wakes up.
The front door.
Yeah.
You don't have a key to the house.
I have the key. What she's talking about is the
Look, calm down.
the
The
top
thing that you slashed
the-
to make sure the door really can't
She
open.
doesn't. We don't just keep the door locked at the bottom. Never in my life. We also put the top one always. So the
Okay.
chain, the
Nice.
stupid fucking chain. Yeah.
So you've got
That I
two.
could pop a fucking key or something, a stick, and fucking unhook it.
Okay, but that for her is her security.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So it's not about asking if he's awake, it's because she wants to go to sleep and
Yeah.
not go to sleep without the chain.
yeah.
Okay, so you've got two options, and because you're under her roof, and you have to be this clear about to the client, because you've got to work within the limitations.
Yeah,
Remember, we
yes.
talked about authority. The limitation is you're under her roof.
Yeah.
Mom, I will be back at 2:30 as we discussed, whether or not she signed the contract.
It's as I discussed.
That's your first line of defense. She might come back at you and say, oh, fuck no, I didn't agree, even though she has a signed paper, because your mother's a fucking nut job, and it's very possible, because gaslighting, because, oh shit, am I crazy? I see it here, but, I mean, these things exist in human behavior. And then you have no choice but to then say, I'm on my way. That's sort of, but don't not do the other things.
That's
Because-
what Nick told me the night of the wedding. It was 12 and we left Trisha's wedding. You saw how we left early because my brother was already asking, are you on your way? And my mom poses him to ask the questions. She doesn't hit me up. No, it's, hey, Emanuela, ask your sister if...
Okay, so it should be even easier for you to
So
say,
then
no, buddy,
Yeah, I
I'll
told
be
him.
home at 2:30.
I told him.
That's great that she pushes
Right.
it onto him.
No,
Because
right.
you're not going to be so stressed out to tell
listen.
him no.
But listen, I do get stressed out because the problem is that her and him side each other. So he tells me in another text, oh, you told mom that you were coming home at 12. And I was like, I never said that. I told her I would be home at 2:30. So
Okay.
I will be home by 2:30.
Okay, so there's a
And-
couple things.
That's
He's
my,
not the authority,
right.
so that exchange with him could stop.
It's to the
Right.
Whereas you could go and text mom
Telling him to text me.
and say,
Texting
Mom,
yourself.
as we discussed, I'll be home at 2:30.
Yeah.
And start
That was
pushing
my
your
mistake.
brother out of it
Mhm.
because he's not your father. And what she's doing is that triangulation where mom and dad against kid,
Mm-hmm.
and he's not your father. Unless that were the relationship all the time, where he was the role of the dad all the time, which is still wrong, but if that were the nature, then I would say, well, you've allowed this is the nature of it, but this isn't the nature of that
Right.
relationship.
But
So
since
I
my
would
father
not even
died,
respond to him and text her, put it back on her that it's the two of you.
Yeah. But since my father died, she's given my brother that full alter ego. Of
Okay,
the
but
father figure.
part of changing behavior is to not keep engaging in the same
Right.
behavior.
So
Einstein said, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
yeah.
So, logic states, this is not the father of the kid, this is not the person who I made the deal with, I have to go back to that person. I'm your teacher, she's your mother, this is the teacher of the school, you wouldn't talk to someone in the other classroom when the
About
kid
right.
is in her classroom.
Right.
We have to use those same sort of strategies and remember those things so that we speak to the right person. That requires behavior change in the system. The system does not want to change because you have a role and everybody's responsibility is to keep you as the sick, fucked up one. And so your brother joins and your mom joins and everyone joins and then you stay in your spot. That's why, and I've told you this before, in family therapy, there's a patient. So the family goes to treat the patient in the family. No, you're all motherfucking sick, people. All of you, the whole system is sick. And so if you are the patient, you have to be like, okay, let me go back. Remember, it's like reforming and reconstructing the system. Nothing is going to change if you keep following in all the roles of. Now, there might get to a point that you're not going to change the system and you're absolutely going to be home at 12 and you do that until the day you no longer need her. And that's a reality that we have to tell our clients.
I also fear in leaving mainly the one reason why I don't trust her with my son is because I am scared, and I've told you guys this a million times over and over again. She already threw me in jail once. What do I know if she calls the cops and tells them, makes up a bullshit story, oh, my daughter left her kid here and she's not even here.
Okay, so
They would contact you first before
okay,
you.
so
Yeah, but
fear,
I can say
fear is a very, very strong motivator.
she's the owner of the house, so.
But he's your kid,
Right,
and you didn't alienate or abandon him, and you have a text to prove it.
right.
So if you feel and fear that,
That's why you're on.
I would, exactly, cover my ass. Mom, as we discussed, I will be home at 2:30. This is where I'm at.
Yeah.
Do.
And then when they go and check that you're there, and then you have a friend to prove that, yeah, I picked her up, we were just gonna come to hang out for a bit. Like,
So just because she can threaten you without threatening you because of previous action, you have to say, wait a minute, can this really happen again? Because if not, then you're just simply responding from a fight or flight, and then go home anyway because you're not enjoying yourself. But if you establish that, there's nothing that they can do. No one's going to throw you in jail because you went to a party. That's
No.
erroneous thinking.
They wouldn't even
And our
worry
job
about
is to pop clients' erroneous thinking because they're constantly creating stories in their head.
they also wouldn't come the same night because they kind of need to set up an appointment with DCF. If that child is taken care of and has a family member that's within the vicinity, 2 in the house, they're not gonna come until like 2 days from now. You're gonna be home by then.
And it doesn't make sense if she's saying, my daughter abandoned the kid, and he's home, he's fed, he's showered, he's cleaned, he's bathed, he's got loving family. So,
It wouldn't
What's the
work.
problem here, ma'am?
Yeah, but that's the
If
thing,
it's
my
the
mom, we were talking about it the other day, she, manipulates
Can't
yeah, but she can't
With-
manipulate the police.
with
There's a
bullshit
protocol.
like that, right.
There's a protocol.
They can't even do it that way if they wanted to.
I mean, the thing is, when I got arrested with her, she told her side of the story. I stayed quiet. I didn't give a shit. I was like, just get me the fuck out of here. Here, pass me the handcuffs. I'll handcuff myself because I'm done. She manipulated and said that I threatened her by throwing the water bottle when it was bullshit.
But you also,
And in front of the judge, she made the same.
but you
thing.
also, your shadow showed up, that diplomatic Libra, and you didn't defend yourself.
Right, exactly.
And
I was the dumbass.
not deciding or not
Yeah.
voting is the same as voting.
Right.
But I want to take you back to something further you said. And I think this is part of what you're doing, a manipulation with yourself, another one of those conversations that you're
Yeah.
having in your head. One of the reasons, or the reason, I don't remember the specific words, that I don't trust my mother with my kid. Who believes that? Anyone believe that she doesn't trust her mother with her child? With what she shared with us?
No.
I don't believe you. You said it because that's something you want to believe. So therefore, if you want to believe that subconsciously, you must create something that makes that true. Coming home at 12 makes it true. But it isn't true that you don't trust her with him, because she takes her to school, she takes care of him, you're willing to go out. Someone who really did not trust someone with another person, living, maybe you have no other choice, but you would not leave them alone in a room for a second together. So you're lying to yourself, and because I lie to myself, that we all do, then I must do again, another subconscious freaking psychological orgasm that we have. Because I lie to myself, and I do trust her with him, even though I say I don't, well then let me create some scenario in which I need to prove myself right. And so our job as a therapist is to question and make the client question and go, well, this doesn't make any sense, and if this really isn't how the authorities work, and the police don't work that way, and you have it in writing, you have it and planting the seeds of doubt, well man, maybe I'm constructing all of this for my own gain, what is it getting me? And then the other option is you don't fucking go out until you leave her house. And next year, when you get a job and you get your own place, then you go out all you want. And that's a viable option, and you can tell your client that. Instead of making all this hubbubaloo. But you try to get them to live their life in a normal, healthy way. And of course, if she wants to go out with is absolutely normal, get laid, which is absolutely normal, then you work within that. But then the other option is, okay, don't go out. Stay home and masturbate and move on. And, next graduation's not that far away. And there you go.
Yeah.
So you can say that to a client. I mean, I told you guys when I got off my meds, Maria was like, you gotta figure it out. You're gonna take the meds or you're gonna stay this way. I said, I don't wanna take the meds. And I stay this way. And I'm doing actually quite well right now. So I'm glad I made that choice. Maybe come January I change my mind. But you gotta pick. Don't go out. Keep doing it. So it's okay to say to the client all of the viable options, even though they seem a little extreme. They get to pick. Remember, we're not judging, we're just validating and supporting. And if you choose to never go out again until you graduate and you're on your own, I'll be your support. And say, 300 days, $2.99, I'll be your cheerleader. But let's show up all of the options before you put yourself into a hole. Let's talk about all the possible options and why maybe you're creating those options, because why they're serving you or not serving you psychologically. That's also our job. But if the client chooses, not going to go out for 300 days, well, okay, you be the cheerleader. How's it going? 2:45? We're almost there. And buy her a dildo or whatever. You support the client. But you give the options and help them see that the way they're doing it isn't necessarily the only way. And that's why people come, because they need to hear a different way of thinking about it or see other options. Any questions on the shadow? This is super, super important. This is the hidden part of the person that's moving them around like a Ouija board. It is the part that will lead them to crisis and will lead to the individuated self if done properly. Most people stay in me. That's not me, it's that person. I don't have that quality. As therapists, we don't have the luxury to do that. We must look at ourselves. So our opposite sign, our descendant, and any oppositions that we have, and we can go more and more into those, are what's going to stand out, and the client's going to speak about that shadow. Anything else before we wrap up? Okay. And you want to take a picture of your chart?
Sure.
I brought the computer.
I say something, but I wanna wait till it's 100.
Okay.